Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to a very special episode of the Socratic Cinema Podcast. My name is Charlie Heatherly, and last night I had the incredible honor and opportunity to go see the Hobbs and Shaw premiere in Hollywood, California. Now, the premiere was an incredibly star-studded event. The Rock, Jason Statham, Vanessa Kirby, Idris Elba, all of the main actors from the film were there, and they did an incredible job presenting the movie and getting the crowd hyped up, and I think it really lives up to what The Rock has been saying it to be, and that's a fun, family-oriented film that you can go see with anyone and just have a genuinely fun time, and that's something that is very important with movies, is the experience of it, and this movie definitely delivers on that front, if lacking a little bit for some cliche story bits. One thing to address before we do get into the review, there's going to be two sections. I'm going to start with the spoiler-free section, where I just talk about some general thoughts on the movie, and then we'll go into spoilers, some specific ones I will not address, but just something to get out of the way first. The main headline that's going around right now is that there was an electrical fire in the theater during the middle of the movie. While this is true, there were sparks in near one of the seats because someone spilled water into an electrical box. I have not read the reports, but just know they might be a little bit overblown. Nobody screamed, nobody really said anything. People just sort of calmly stood up and walked away from the fire. Fire, I say in quotation marks, because there really wasn't one, probably just sparks. Everyone just sort of calmly walked out of the theater. But besides that, let's get into the spoiler-free part of the review. The movie, and I am very glad to say this, is both a Fast and Furious movie and a Fast and Furious movie with developed themes. That's a shocker. Usually Fast and Furious movies just go for straight spectacle, but because you have The Rock backing it, he loves to incorporate this aspect of family into it, and thank God we don't have Vin Diesel, because the only thing he can say is, it's all about family. But with The Rock, you get to explore what it means to be all about family. And he does that in an incredibly satisfying way. I'm sure if you saw the trailers, then you'll know that they go to Samoa, which is a place very close to The Rock. He's half Samoan, half black. And he really loves to explore that side of his heritage and culture, as we saw in his role in Moana, where he played Maui. He feels really connected to it, and he went out of his way to film on location there, and to film with actual genuine Samoans. And it's a very, you feel that energy, and you feel like it's a part of a family, and that aspect and that theme is emphasized throughout the entire film. You start off with The Rock, besides a couple opening action sequences, you start off with The Rock talking to his daughter about how much he loves family, and that is sort of carried through with Deckard Shaw. His sister in the film is Vanessa Kirby's character, whose name I'm forgetting, something Shaw. But you also get to explore that aspect where it's two people that they thought, betrayed the other, but really, they're family. So you got to come back to that. You got to protect the people that you love. And it's an interesting take that they do at the very end of the movie, where they decide that family is about taking hits for each other and be willing to sacrifice your own physicality and blood to make sure that you can win the day and help those people around you. The aspect of friends is also emphasized, where Hobbs is constantly saying that Deckard Shaw is a little bit of a friendless person, and he's mean because of it, and The Rock is so charismatic. There's a couple scenes I'll get into where that's shown off quite well, and that charisma that The Rock shows is something that is so entrancing about the film, and his chemistry with Jason Statham is absolutely incredible throughout the, I would say, entirety of the film. There's not a moment that felt dry with him. It's also a very, very funny film for a couple reasons I'll go into later. Throughout the entirety of the movie, you're laughing, you're hollering, and you're having a great time at the action sequences, which are absolutely incredible, spectacular. They cut to the core of what the Fast and Furious franchise should be, and that's all about spectacle. It's all about, this could never happen, but what if, right? From the trailers, you got to see the chase sequence between The Rock, Jason Statham, and Vanessa Kirby all in one car, and then Idris Elba chasing them on a motorcycle. And it's amazing on the big screen when you see Jason Statham do his swerve underneath the two London buses, and then Idris Elba comes in. Oh my God, it's fantastic. And that energy of the action sequences carries throughout the entire film. Save maybe the middle-ish part, I'll get into that specific scene, but it's a very good film. if you're just looking to have a good time. I know a lot of people just go to movies to make their popcorn taste better, and if so, this is a movie that you most certainly want to watch. It might not be the best story, it might not be the most coherent or deep message, but and it's a little cliche in some parts, but I mean, you can't help but have fun while you're watching it. And I think that's a main part. All the characters are fleshed out and well thought through, except for maybe Idris Elba's villain, who, although is incredibly intimidating and does beat up The Rock and Jason Statham at many points in the film, is a little lacking in depth. But basically, it's a great film full of energy and heart, and you should absolutely go and see it if you're looking to have an enjoyable cinematic experience. Okay, now that all the people that came here for no spoilers are gone, this is going to be the spoiler review. Now, there are some things specifically that David Leitch said not to spoil, and those regard people that are in the movie that you didn't know were in the movie. So go in and watch the film to figure what that's all about. But there's going to be some very, very positive surprises, let me tell you. Those people that were in the movie were some of the funniest bits of it. And I'll leave it at that. But for the spoilers, in the movie, we start off with a heist scene where Vanessa Kirby and MI6, I believe that's the name of the agency, are going in to get a virus from some unknown terrorist organization. And once they do that, Idris Elba comes in and absolutely destroys everyone in a great, great fight scene where he stabs someone with a brick. That was really fun. And then basically Vanessa Kirby runs away with the virus. She injects herself with it to save it from Idris Elba. And then the whole snafu is blamed on Vanessa Kirby, who is said to have killed her entire platoon of people. Now, after that, we sort of get into this thing between Hobbs and Shaw. There's a great double shot with them. The cinematography in the film, I forgot to mention, is incredible, by the way. Really surprising how fluid they made it feel. But it's really, really great. Very high energy all the way through. We get into this great opening shot between The Rock and Jason Statham, where we get to see them go through their daily routines, and then the calls from their respective handlers, I guess you could say, their agency handlers, about the mission that comes up. They take that. There's a very funny cameo. Again, go watch the movie to find out who that is. And then they finally meet each other. They get into an argument, obviously, and then they both go to find Vanessa Kirby in their own way. The Rock gets to her first. They have a great fight scene, while Jason Statham goes to her apartment and has a separate great fight scene. So very rare that you're going to see two high-energy fight scenes that you manage to blend together very fluidly into one thing. But they managed to do that. The action flows in a way that is very satisfying. David Leitch obviously understands pacing for fight scenes, and I think it shows off here incredibly well, because you have the 1v1 versus Rock and Vanessa Kirby, where it's sort of more of a comedic, slower vibe, because The Rock is such a big person. There's no way that Vanessa Kirby could really go to fight him unless she was going to kill him with a gun or something, but they sort of throw that out. It's a fist fight mainly, while Jason Statham is just taking out rows of bad guys using every kitchen appliance you can think of. And it's fun and it's creative, and I think that's one of the best parts of the film is its creativity. Incredibly hard to do in movies, especially with fight scenes, considering how many we had. But although it doesn't reach John Wick levels of, wow, this is insane, this is so amazing, it has a nice family-friendly John Wick tone, and I think that's what we can all aspire to do. Keanu Reeves would be proud, and I think that badge of approval says a lot about the movie. But after these fight scenes, Vanessa Kirby's detained by The Rock. They go in for questioning, and then Jason Statham comes in, and then Idris Elba comes in. So it's like, whoa, this guy's here. Now it's a standoff between him and The Rock, and then whoa, Idris Elba comes in, and then he kills everyone inside the building except for The Rock and Jason Statham, who then have to go after him in that elevator, jump down the rappelling of the building scene that you saw in the trailers. Although the trailers did spoil a whole bunch of the movie for people that saw them, it's still fun in the theaters. I mean, like, come on. It's exhilarating to watch that happen on a giant, massive screen with the sound coming at you from all angles. It's, again, most certainly an experience that you have to go and watch. But after that, you get into the London car chase scene, which I already described before. It's incredibly fun. You've seen the trailers. You know how great it is. And then after that, we get a little bit of a lull, so we've had this constant action. The pacing's great, so it knows that we have to sort of calm down and have a little bit of a breather before our next major fight scene. And that happens when they're trying to figure out what to do with the virus. Vanessa Kirby's character will die in a certain amount of time. I believe it was 48 hours from that point in the film if they did nothing about it. Or maybe it wasn't 48 hours. Some specific amount of time, her character will die. And what they need to do to save that is they need to go to Itaeon, or I forgot the specific name, but basically the evil bad guy's base. They need to go there and get a specific machine that can save Vanessa Kirby without killing her. They contract a doctor to do this. The doctor is taken by Idris Elba, tortured, that whole thing. So now it's, the stakes are high, they need to go somewhere, and they need to save Vanessa Kirby. And there's a lot of tiny, little funny jokes they do through out that portion in the movie. Very funny bit from a cameo that, again, I can't tell you about. Please go see it. It's the movie's worth it for those cameos alone. And then after you see all that happen, all of the sort of lull and the action, which is well-deserved, then we get to a power plant, or not a power plant, but a bio-research medical facility in Ukraine after Jason Statham goes and finds this Russian girlfriend of his to basically get him there. It's a little strange how they do it. They hyped up this Russian mobster's actress. I forgot her name. At the premiere, she was in it for all of 5 minutes. The cameos are in there longer than she is, but that's besides the point. Basically, after they get to this biomedical facility, they have an action sequence where they parachute down, and then The Rock and Jason Statham go through the two tunnel thing that, again, we saw in the trailers. The trailers really destroyed a lot of the surprise in this movie, but again, that's not why you're going to see it. You're going to see it because it's so cool in cinema. But you have that amazing two-hallway sequence where The Rock basically knocks out the giant guy in one hit, then carries him along while Jason Statham's doing all the work, trying to get all these bad guys killed. And once that happens, once they get through the doors, Idris Elba's waiting for them with his giant army of genetically modified goons, because that's the whole point of the bad guys, is that they want to genetically modify all humans to make them better. It's one of those evolution ones where it's like, oh, the weaklings must die, and only the strong can survive. So, again, you get sort of cliche motivations like that, and the cliche sort of theme of family being the thing that can win the day. But again, they do an interesting take on that I think saves it from being like a My Little Pony style friendship is magic and it's all we need to defeat the evil forces in the world. But after Idris Elba detains them, there's that interrogation scene with the electrical shocks where 5 shocks will kill a man or whatever it is. Very funny. And Vanessa Kirby comes in. She was originally in there as a decoy, as a capture was all a part of their plan. But then she breaks free, saves The Rock and Jason Statham, and then they go on this separate car chase outside the reactor. There was a bomb planted, so now the entire facility... And the only reason I keep saying reactors is because there's these reactor-looking structures there, so I know that's a little bit confusing, but biomedical facility, reactor, interchangeable in this case. They're driving out of the biomedical facility, and a bomb goes off, so they have to escape there before everything gets exploded. It's a mini hydrogen bomb, so pretty dangerous stuff. They're running out. The car chase is happening. It's very intense. It's a little bland and generic. It's all a little gray and not horribly unique or interesting, but you do get to see a reinforcement of Idris Elba being superior to both The Rock and Jason Statham due to the fact that they keep trying to take him on 1v1, and that's something the film emphasizes in each encounter that they have. The only reason they're losing is because they're fighting him mano a mano, basically. They refuse to work together, and that's something that you'll see fixed in the climax of the film. But after they get beat up and barely escape, Idris Elba's once again failed his mission. The Rock needs some place to go, or they all need some place to go so that they can finally get this thing out of Vanessa Kirby's bloodstream, this virus. They do have the machine, but it's broken, so they need someone to fix it. And The Rock knows just the person to go to, and that's his brother, whose name was Jonah, I believe, in the film. Jonah Hobbs. So they got to go back to Samoa and meet Jonah. There's this great scene where they get there and The Rock meets his entire family, and the Samoan mother, The Rock's Samoan, not his actual mother, but his mother in the film, is an incredibly funny character. She's great in it, and she emphasizes this sort of Islander tradition of always being there for your Uso, for your brothers, and for respecting the culture and respecting your family. And that message is what drives the characters to finally get together. That's what makes it so that Deckard Shaw and Luke Hobbs can finally come together as one. They become Uso. They become brothers in the preparations for trying to save Deckard Shaw's sister, who, at this point, Vanessa Kirby is having a little bit of a love relationship with The Rock. It's a little flirtatious. They do end up kissing there at the island, but besides that, nothing much happens. And it's a believable romantic side plot, because The Rock is so attractive and Vanessa Kirby is so attractive that, it all makes sense. They're very charismatic people, and they play it off well. It's not overemphasized. It's not underemphasized. It's great. Nothing much to say about it. It's not incredibly deep, but the climax of the film is happening at this moment, and I think they played it off incredibly well, where you get this lull in preparation, about 20 minutes-ish of, anticipation, and then you get to see the snippets from the trailer showed The Rock in his Samoan battle regalia, ready to take out the mercenary assassins, and the reason why they're fighting them with just clubs, and the reason why that works is because all of Idris Elba's goons, basically, their guns are triggered by a glove that basically allows them to shoot it. It's some high-tech stuff, and they manage to hack the system so that they can't use those guns. And also, during all of this final fight where The Rock is basically the Rock and his Uso are beating all of Idris Elba's goons over the head with a giant stick. It's very fun. Roman Reigns is in the movie, so you get to see some tag team between him and The Rock. Goes back to the WWE days. It's really fun. You really feel the takedowns that they do. It's super awesome. But throughout that fight, Vanessa Kirby is hooked up to this machine. She's getting the blood taken out of her, the virus taken out of her, so that she doesn't die, because that would be pretty bad, right? And that's sort of the central conflict within this fight, is trying to keep her out of Idris Elba's character's reach. And what happens is she gets taken by him inside of a helicopter, so then The Rock and Jason Statham have to go after him, and that's where you see the tow truck scene, where they throw cables onto the helicopter and then they drive with the helicopter. It's awesome. It's super cool. If a little cheesy, but you're not going to a Fast and Furious movie to have reality look back at you in the face. You're going into a Fast and Furious movie to have some fun. So when you see 5 cars in a train all hooked up to each other, nitro boosting down the road to keep this helicopter on the ground, it's cool. And it's a very well put together scene. The energy's there. You really feel like these guys are brothers and they're sacrificing what they are doing for each other. It's just fantastic. And throughout that little bit, it's this constant struggle where the helicopter is about to take off another car, so then they need to put another car on to balance the weight, and it's just fantastic. It's great. And after that happens, the helicopter eventually crashes along with The Rock and Jason Statham. They fall onto this stormy cliffside, which is, a little cliche, but they play it off in an interesting way. And what happens is they have one final fight where Vanessa Kirby gets the virus out of her, and now they just have to take out Idris Elba. And what they do is they're getting destroyed by him, and then they realize for a quick second that he, using his biotech, Idris Elba, can only identify one target at a time to take down very effectively. So what they end up doing is they have this idea where they're like, listen, we're brothers, we need to take hits for each other. And this is where the family aspect really comes in, binding people together that have 2 drastically different backgrounds, from 2 drastically different viewpoints of each other into one cohesive unit. And you really feel it. You really feel like these guys are battle partners, battle brothers. And what ends up happening is they end up taking punches from one another, so Idris Elba will smack one of them in the face, and then one of them will do a finishing move on Idris Elba. It's great. And because it's in the rain, they do this really awesome CGI effect where once somebody punches the other person, the rain flies off of them in slow motion. Oh, it's so great. You really feel the punches, too, because you get to see the skin ripple back from a punch in slow motion. Oh, it's fantastic. And once again, the energy's there. It's a very well choreographed fight scene. And once they start overtaking Idris Elba, they just do some crazy stuff to him, like Luke Hobbs will throw him up into the air, and then Shaw comes in with a drop kick midway through. It's great. And obviously, the villain is defeated, and the giant corporation that's controlling him decides to deactivate him because Shaw refuses to kill Idris Elba because of the human quality of mercy, which is something that Idris was fighting against. He was fighting to make everyone more robotic, more machine-oriented, and then what Deckard Shaw's character, and then what Deckard Shaw does is he says, no, I've learned that humans are humans because of their heart, and that's what makes them strong. Again, cliche, but and you've heard it before, but you feel it. Like, come on, it's hard not to smile at that after the journey that you've just witnessed. So after Idris Elba is defeated, we have this nice little walk-off where everyone's happy in the Samoan sun, and then the movie ends. But that's not the ending of all the scenes, because there's 3 after-credit scenes. All of them, I believe... No, 2 out of the 3 of them are with one of the cameos, and they're very, very, very funny scenes. And then one of them is with just The Rock and Jason Statham, where they call back a joke from earlier before. There will probably be a sequel. They set it up to where the organization that was controlling Idris Elba's character is going to basically come back. They got Hobbs and Shaw on their radar, so you're going to have a second story to tell about it. And overall, this movie is incredibly fun and incredibly enjoyable. And I'm not just saying that because I was able to go see the premiere. Again, I recommend it. I love the Fast and Furious franchise, specifically the latter entries, because they're unabashedly action movies, and that's what they are at their core, and that's what they always should be at their core, is we're having fun, we've given up this facade of we're trying to be realistic, and we're just going to go straight for your emotions, and it's definitely not the most intelligent film, and I don't think it needs to be, because it cuts to the heart, it cuts to your heart. That's what they keep trying to emphasize, is the heart, right? Where you just feel excited. You feel happy watching it. And if you're a fan of action movies, I most certainly recommend seeing it. And even if you're not, and you just want to go see something that will brighten up your day, then that's probably the movie that you're going to want to go see. But I think that does it for the review. Sorry I was stammering or stuttering or meandering at certain points. This is unscripted, and I'm trying to get this out as quickly as possible. It is quite literally the morning after I've been asleep for only a couple hours at this point. So thank you so much for watching. If you want any of these mini reviews where we get the inside scoop on your favorite movies, then please let us know. Tell us what you thought. And once you see the movie, I believe it comes out very early August. I think it might be the 2nd, but don't quote me on that. Tell us what you think of the movie. Tell us if you agree with me. Tell us if you don't. And thank you so much for watching. Make sure to share the podcast with other people. And tell us if you would rather see it on iTunes or Spotify. Subscribe, like, do all that stuff. Thank you for watching. I'm out.